Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're giving you guys our final review of The Nothing That Is by Fit for an Autopsy. So we've been listening to this album non-stop for the entire week, and I'm just going to open up the floor by talking about some songs.
Sure.
Hostage, the first track, one of the singles we reacted to, still incredible. I believe I mentioned it last week, love that song. I still love it. The mini drum intro there, you know, that slow intro riff, mean as hell. The mini solo that kind of sounds like a Meshuggah solo almost. The chorus, just for me, like, definitely Song of the Year contender. It is the number one. Like,
Song of the Year contender.
There are some great songs on this album, but that one is the song. When I hear it, it's just amazing.
I agree. I think this is probably the best song on the album. Song of the Year contender, that's a bold statement. I mean, I don't know.
For me, it is.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think that the song does some interesting things tonally, like tonal shifts. Like, it sounds really dark at some points, and then sometimes it's bright and colorful. And I like that aspect of it. The hang up I have is the clean in the chorus. The cleans in the chorus, there's something. It's not that I don't like the cleans, but there's a certain note that he's hitting at a certain time, and it hurts my ears. Like, I don't know, when I have it on loud, I don't know what it is, man. Maybe it's a me problem, but there's a certain level. Like, if you were to put notes on a step, and then at the very top, it's like the pinnacle, and anything after that is like cracking glass kind of thing. It's just reaching that point where it's like, oh man, I gotta turn it down a little bit. I don't know why. I hate that, but there's something about it that was bothering me.
No, I mean, fortunately, I didn't run into that issue.
Yeah.
But
other than that, I thought the song was fantastic, though.
The breakdown of Spoils of the Horde, fucking thieves. Love that every single time. Like, yeah, so cool. Hits really hard. The syncopated stuff they do in the first half as well is really cool. And the vocal rhythm is really, really awesome too. So I like that. It's kind of like a contrast, a really quick, direct contrast to the melodic nature of Hostage, which I think is quite awesome.
It's a lot more like staccato style, like something from like Fear Factory or something.
Like Fear Factory, yeah. That's a good comparison there. I don't know if you got this impression, but maybe you'll understand once I mention it. The breakdown section at the end of Red Horizon, like that groove they got, sounds to me a lot like something you'd hear from Gojira. Like the riff style, the melodies, drum fills going on the ride bell, the guitar slides they do even, like, I just it got to a point where I'm like, I was just wishing that they would just vamp out on that for like 2 minutes straight, like Gojira would do. Which I think it would be really cool, especially like in the middle of the album to do something like that. I still think Lurch is really good as well. I complimented that song last week. I love that intro, and to be honest, I wish that intro section was the whole song. Or at least have it be the majority of the song, and then the big kind of band coming in with the big explosion would happen like near the end. I think entering the second half of the album with a song that's mostly that, and then at the end it all comes crashing down, I think that would make it a much harder impact.
So like keep the ideas the same, but switch up the structure.
Yeah, just make the quieter section longer, basically, than it is. That's the only change I'd really make, but otherwise, I still think that's a great song. One song I do want to comment on, though, The Silver Sun, which is the outro track to the album. Now, this band has created a very high standard for themselves, I guess in general, because of how great their music has been for the last multiple albums, but with closers specifically. At the end of the Sea of Tragic Beasts, there's a song called Napalm Dreams. Amazing, beautiful ending. At the end of Oh, What the Future Holds, it's The Man That I Was Not, another great one. The Silver Sun, while a good song, just doesn't hit the same way. And I feel like it's not even a bad closer, it's not even a bad song, but I feel like the standard for closers with this band is so high with how much emotion is in the overall soundscape of their music. This one doesn't do the job that I feel like it could be doing. I wanted something that would just really... It's hard to really define, but you know how the other two closers of those other two albums really have like a heavy send-off like that? This one just didn't quite reach that level.
You know what it is? And I have the notes almost exactly like what you're saying, but you listen to a song like Napalm Dreams and it's got that, all I wanted was a way out.
Oh my God.
That evokes emotion when you listen to it. This song has when it all went silent. It's this, they're going for the same thing, and it makes you think of Napalm Dreams, but it doesn't make you feel the same way as Napalm Dreams does. So by contrast, it makes this song feel so inferior because it's being held up to such a high standard. That's a little unfair, but I have the same feeling you do. I felt like this outro felt completely flat because of that, but it's because I'm constantly being reminded of something they've done before, right? And I'm like, oh man, you did it so great before, why couldn't you hit that level again?
I mean, it's not that unfair of a comparison if they're trying to evoke the same thing.
I feel like they really are.
Because, you know,
trying to tap right back into it.
It's an unfair comparison if this album was like a completely different album. You know what I mean? If they went for a completely different sound entirely, then it's like you're comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah.
But this is like one type of apple versus a really similar apple.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that is reasonable to have that comparison because they're both trying to do the same job. One is essentially trying to evoke the effect of the other. Like, I think there is a comparison to be had there.
So that's a song, Napalm Dreams is a song we both like, right?
Beautiful song.
I wonder how popular that song really is. I've never really looked into that or anything like that because if it's not even that popular of a song, then it'd be weird for them to try to replicate it. But if it's a really popular song, it's got lots of hits, then that's definitely an indicator of why they might want to go, let's try that formula again. Yeah. And they missed the mark.
Let us know in the comments, what are your thoughts on specifically Napalm Dreams from the Sea of Tragic Beasts? We love that song, but if you're a Fit for an Autopsy fan, let us know, is that one of your favorites or is that one just among fans just kind of like whatever? Like, yeah. Because we don't actually know.
That's why I'm curious.
But you know, one big thing I wanna praise this band for is the way that you can understand the harsh vocals. Because obviously harsh vocals, they're hard to understand. It's someone screaming, they're using a technique, their voice sounds demonic, it's hard to understand. But there are some vocalists where you actually can clearly understand even though it is this brutal growl. And I feel like it's like that not only on this album, but with this band as a whole. I think that's one of the reasons why these guys are so awesome.
Yeah.
I made the I made a loose Whitechapel comparison last week, loose, and I'm gonna make maybe a less loose one. I think Phil Bozeman is similar in terms of he's got these brutal growls, but you can actually really discern what he's saying with it.
Yeah.
I think it's like that with him, and it's like that with this band too. So, doesn't get any clearer than that. I don't know about you, but this album kind of feels a bit shorter than it is, because 43 minutes is a pretty average length for today's standards.
It is.
But it kind of felt like, especially in the second half, it just kind of flew by, and I was just suddenly near the end, I'm like, what happened?
Yeah,
you know?
I felt that too. I felt like this album was just cycling more than it should have been. I almost felt like songs were being cut out or something like that. But
yeah, it felt like something was almost missing.
Yeah, it felt like something was missing, but I mean, it wasn't. It was playing all the way through and doing its thing.
So I know you kind of had that feeling about the first half being stronger than the second half. Now that it's been a week, how do you feel about that? Like, you listened to it for a week, do you feel the same way?
I pretty much feel the same way. I feel like the first half is still definitely stronger than the second half. I feel like this album, it has a lot of punch to it. I feel like there's a lot of texture to the sound. There's a lot of cool ideas being executed. There's some great contour and a decent mix of things happening. But for some reason, and I struggle so hard with this, for some reason throughout the week, I found myself really uninspired and really unenthused with a lot of the songs. And I would pick a song like Weaker Wolves, for example. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna focus on Weaker Wolves right now. I'm gonna get into this song. I'm gonna pick out things I like about it. And halfway through the song, I'd forget it was even on. I'd get lost with something else and I'd go, wait a second. And I'd have to skip back a track and I would start it in the middle and try to pick it up from there. And I'm like, I shouldn't be having to do this. And I'm like, you know what? This kind of reminds me of, like, speaking of Weaker Wolves specifically, this kind of reminds me of Unearth. Like, this sounds like something Unearth would do.
Okay.
Right? Really cool song, but nothing really cool happens. Right? It's just straightforward, a decent song throughout. And that was a reoccurring feeling I had with most of these songs. There's a few little things here and there. Like, I like in The Nothing That Is, the clean and harsh vocal harmonies that happen in that one. I like, I already mentioned the staccato stuff from Spoils of the Horde and reminded me of Fear Factor. I thought that was really cool and how they changed up the rhythmic pattern of that song to make it stand out. But Hostage is still the standout track. I think that song just, again, the tonal things that they do. I like, you mentioned the drum fill at the beginning, very cool. It goes into that breakdown-esque type of intro section. It's just the clean vocals have me on a hang-up on that one. But I still tended to enjoy the first 3 to 4 tracks. before my brain started disconnecting from the album. I'd say at probably like between Weaker Wolves and Red Horizon, around there, my brain would just kind of drift off until the Silver Sun came on, and only because that reminded me of Napalm Dreams, I was clicked back into it.
Yeah.
But then immediately disappointed because it didn't give me the same feeling Napalm Dreams did. So I had a really kind of awkward feeling with this album. It's good music. I think it's well performed and well written, and this band has been on an upward trajectory for at least 2 albums now. This one, for some reason, for me, just kind of wasn't hitting the right marks, and I was struggling with it.
I mean, I'd still even say this band has a really strong personality with their music, because you have the last 2 albums which felt like really standout deathcore albums, and I feel like that's present here too. Because think of how wide the deathcore pool is right now.
It is.
Think of how many bands are just kind of like come and go bands, but these guys always make a statement and always leave something memorable.
See, this is where I'm going to disagree with the statement, right? Because I feel like the last 2 albums did make a statement. I feel like this one didn't. This one, to me, feels like one of those
just another
come and go deathcore albums, right? There's not a lot of really big standout personality on this. At least that's I couldn't discover it.
One small thing I want to mention, and I noticed this, there's this line in Hostage, "We've seen what the future holds," which is a really cool callback to
What the Future Holds.
To the name of that album. And there's actually a few of those throughout the album, and I think that means they are very delicate with how they write, and I love that. I love the detail in that. The fact that they're able to write what they write about and throw stuff in there and have it be so smooth like that. It's so clever, so well done, and I love that. But one of the biggest things with this album, I found, is this band is great at making special songs and special moments in their albums. When you have an album that has some songs that are that level, they're amazing, incredible songs, and the other ones aren't the same, it's hard to really kind of judge those other songs because they're not bad songs on their own.
No.
But when you put them on the album with these other songs that are like mind-blowing, amazing, oh my god, it overshadows the other ones really hard. And that's what's difficult, because this album does have some, for me, amazing standout songs, but others just aren't quite there. So then, by comparison, it kind of makes them look and sound like come and go songs.
It's like a college athlete next to a pro athlete.
Yeah, it's like the college athlete, they're good. They're good at what they do.
But when you watch them next to a pro athlete, they're gonna look not as good.
It's just it's just different. You know what I mean? It's different. So that's one thing that was kind of difficult with this album. But like, I still think this band can consistently make like a lot of great stuff. Like, they're still one of the best deathcore bands out there. So with that being said, shall we rate the album?
Let's rate the album. Who's going first?
Well, I guess I can start it off and say this album, as I mentioned, had a lot of really cool stuff on it. And it was really difficult throughout the week to kind of try to judge and rate songs based on, well, this chunk is awesome, these are not bad, but like they're not as good as that chunk. And for me, it was like the first half being super duper strong, it kind of overshadowed the second half. So was the second half good enough to kind of, reach that level? It was hard to say, but for me, this album is gonna land at a 7.5.
Wow.
On the doorstep. That first half, super duper strong. The other half kind of got overshadowed just enough that this album just didn't get over the hump into toe tag territory for me.
You know what, I agree with a lot of the things you say about this album, but I just feel like the band was on such an upward trajectory, and I feel like they flatlined on this one. Maybe my expectation was too high. Maybe something, whatever. At the beginning of the year, we developed a new rating system. We've mentioned this before. We rate the songs based on a set of criteria that we have, and then we develop a percentage score based on those ratings, and that's the album score. I'm gonna get flack for this because I feel like this is probably gonna piss some people off, unfortunately. But the way my scoring ended off, and this is, again, me being just completely uninspired by the album. And that's not my fault, I feel. I feel like I gave it a full and honest chance. I really wanted to give it a good score. But it's not how the cookie crumbled. The score that I ended up with was a 4.
Ouch.
Which I know, I'm surprised at that myself. But that's just how it ended off, man. Hostage is the only song that really gave me any sort of like feeling of wanting to listen to it again, being eager to listen to it again. Everything else just felt like it just was average.
Well, there you have it, folks. A 4 from Vile Self and a 7.5 from myself. So unfortunately, Fit for an Autopsy, unable to reach the list of 2 Toe Tag albums as of yet. But hey, who knows? Maybe an anniversary review will come along and maybe they'll get on there. Or
hopefully they'll bounce back in a couple years with something stellar, maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, guys, that's all we got for you today. Remember to like the video if you liked it, and tell us in the comments below, a week after its release, what are your thoughts of the Nothing That Is? And subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm TV Fish.
I'm Vile Self.
And keep the horns up.